Hello there, this is Hazelton, and you are listening to the Poet's Lighthouse. For those lost at sea or those that stay adrift far too long, search for the light. I hope the day has been easy on all of us. I hope the nights give us our full rest. And I hope those that are feeling lost or alone out there just know you're not. And if it's only me and you in the world feeling that way, well, we'll just know we will fight against the day and win. We always will. And you're probably thinking, well, what such force could defeat the sun? And I say it's the feeling of love. It's the madness of the gods. Love can do things not even a god can. Love is a religion, and one I believe that everyone practices without even knowing, without even blinking an eye. At what very second do we decide that this is the person we'll die for? I don't think we do. And a good way to find it would be a blind date. And so with that, let's read Blind Date by J. Leeming. Our loneliness sits with us at dinner, an unwanted guest who never says anything. It's uncomfortable. Still, we get to know each other, like students allowed to use a private research library for only one night. I go through a file of friends, cities, and jobs. What was that like, I ask. What did you do then? We are each doctors who have only ourselves for medicine, and long to prescribe it for what ails the other. She has a nice smile. Maybe, I tell myself. But my heart is a cynical hermit who frowns once, then shuts the door of his room and starts reading a book. All I can do now is want her. Our polite conversation coasts like a car running on fumes and then rolls to a stop. We split the bill, and that third guest at the table goes home with each of us to talk and talk. That was Blind Date by J. Leeming. And that's how a blind date might go. It could be the love of your life or just a complete mess. And I know we like to picture a heart all red, pretty, just like we grew up drawing. But the truth of the reality is, that isn't what our heart looks like, right? It could look raw, it could look ugly, it could look disgusting. And with that, let's go ahead and read the poem Heart by Sally Blymus Dunn. She has painted her lips hibiscus pink. The upper lip dips perfectly in the center like a Valentine heart. It makes sense to me that the lips, the open eye of the mouth, is shaped more like a heart than the actual human heart. I remember the first time I saw it, veined and shiny as the ooze of a snail. If this were what we had been taught to draw, how differently we might have learned to love. And that's what love is at times, right? What we thought as children versus what we see when we're adults. That's why being a kid was so great. We were living in the land of make-believe. Which leads us to our next poem, King Friday and the Land of Make-Believe by Kenyatta Rogers. This may not be the time to offer this, but I'm not as good as you hope I'll be. When we're in a tunnel and I'm driving, I'm sure it would seem imaginary. When I ask to lie on your floor, I really want to say, can I stay and watch you chop up green onions? You're better than me. I don't know if you've ever heard me say that. On your phone, you keep a picture of the human brain. When your father was deep frying the turkey, your mother told me to keep playing music. Maybe now I finally know what love is. taking pictures while your dog wears glasses, trying to describe what stuffing should taste like. In my friend's basement, you gave everyone Polaroids of themselves. Then we laughed at a poster of the human body. And this is the part where I sit on your couch and watch you teach your friend merengue. This is where I try to prevent myself from smiling. And I hope Charlie doesn't show up to tell me it's time to go home. King Friday in the land of make-believe. Sometimes that's all we could do. Love from afar. Sometimes it's the best route to go. Let's go ahead and read our next poem, Love Letter, by Natalie Handel. I'd like to be a shrine, so I can learn from people's prayers the story of hearts. I'd like to be a scarf, so I can place it over my hair and understand other worlds. I'd like to be the voice of a soprano singer, so I can move through all borders and see them vanish with every spellbinding note. I'd like to be light, so I illuminate the dark. I'd like to be water to fill bodies, so we can gently float together indefinitely. I'd like to be a lemon, to be zest all the time, or an olive tree to shimmer silver on the earth. Most of all, I'd like to be a poem, to reach your heart and stay. And is that not why we write, ladies and gentlemen? I think that's why some of us write. To reach out to those that aren't there. To ask for forgiveness to a God you destroyed, to a religion you tarnished. Because no matter how bad the storm could have been between the two, it's always best to just ask for calm waters. And up next, we'll be reading Weathermen by Patricia Traxler. When it snows, he stands at the back door or wanders around the house to each window in turn and watches the weather like a lover. Oh, farm boy, I waited years for you to look at me that way. Now we're old enough to stop waiting for random looks or touches or words, so I find myself watching you watching the weather, and we wait together to discover whatever the sky might bring. And this poem is another good example of waiting for love to strike, knowing it's there, feeling it, because you don't know when it's gonna come, so you might as well just go right ahead. So let's read The Subway Lovers by Jesus Papoleto Melendez. He cares for her. He paints lipstick on her lips as she smiles, waiting for the train to come to pick them up and take them somewhere else. He's brought his lover a slice of pizza, which she eats while concentrating deeply. He speaks softly to her while she concentrates just so. Her eyes skate off in various directions, landing on an inanimate object, the empty bench across the platform. On the other side, a trash bin, not too far away. The laces on her brand new shoes. Both couples plan for tomorrow, as if were a promise. And the promises fall on air so full of hope they need eyes to glisten off of while their lips grow full and moist. Ah, that dreamy look, where all of heights, the vacant stare seemingly to nowhere yet. Eternally a constant stare into where everything of mystery reveals itself in the instance of a moment before reality again. And there's the string that binds us all, for however we perceive love to be. There it is, in the darkest place, in the bright broad light. Obvious and plain, the mystery explained that only they, today, understand the total truth of it. And no one can say to be the otherwise. And when you get to that point in love, then you can just have full conversations by just looking into each other's eyes. It's a real powerful feeling, almost like cracking open the sky with that same look. And when you look someone in the eyes like that, So before then, it's good to have The Talk by Gail Danley. Pretty soon, we'll have the talk. She will ask me where babies come from, and I will lie to her. Babies come from the chance meeting of sperm and egg. See, the man deposits his sperm, which is like a pudding, into the woman's vagina, and it travels up this tubey thing, and only one of them gets the prize in being. A cell becomes a fetus, becomes baby, becomes you. Go do your homework. She will wait for me to calm down, her eyes patient, requiring the truth, and I will tell her. Babies come from Friday nights melted into Saturday mornings. Daisley Brothers and 3 or 4 glasses of white zin, mini skirts and aching zippers. Sofa cushions sweaty and, oh God, the condom broke. Babies come from blue lights and EPT test and the wet spot on clean sheets. Lonely knees that bump beneath the table, love letters sealed with a miss and $758 bills. Eyeliner and lips to match muscle thighs and a sweet milky quarter of yes in the center of pink panties. You came from this. A separated daddy and a desperate mama. A rip sonogram and hours spent on hardwood floors asking girlfriends, should I go through with this? Grandma's washboard and the dust tracks granddaddy made when he left her with 5 girls to maim. You came from this. Maryland rain, nights of shag carpet loving and days just $2 short of the rent. And one afternoon you came, I wanted your father so badly it hurt. Even took his last name and flung it behind yours like a spare tire. Whatever he gave me was never enough. It was like his love was a sieve, and my desire for him water. I was insane. Packed my dreams in a U-Haul and moved them to MD, nothing better to do. Dirty and scared, you came from this. Collision of longing, tongue kissing and shame, the emptiness at the corner of GA Avenue and the fullness of swollen ankles and readjusted dreams. You came from a poet and a singer. Fists and car keys, peach cobbler and gumbo love, and that last dirty fight on the beltway. You came, baby, you came here. And she'll say, Mama, babies come from peach cobbler? And I'll say yes. And that was The Talk by Gail Danley. And I just want to reread the line that made me love this poem. Babies come from Friday nights melted into Saturday mornings. And there was such passion in the way she described it. And that's what love does. She said it herself. And there are some that will outlive us. Just like these two in the next poem. The world is about to end and my grandparents are in love by Kara Jackson. Still, living like they orbit one another, my grandfather, the planet, and grandma, his moon assigned by some gravitational pull, they have loved long enough for a working man to retire. Grandma says she's not tired. She wears her husband like a coat that survives every season. Grandma returns to her love like a hymn, marks it with a color. When the world ends, will it suck the earth of all its love? Will I go taking somebody's hand, my skin becoming their skin, the digital age is taking away our winters? And I'm afraid the sun is my soulmate. That waste waits for a wet kiss, carbon calls me pretty and I think death is a good first date. I hope when the world ends, it leaves them be. Spares Grandpa and his game, Grandma spinning corn into weight, the two of them reeling into Western theme songs. The TV louder than whatever's coming. And that's what love is. Something stronger than the end of the world. And it could be as simple as a love poem. It could set you ablaze more than a summer's day on the sun. And so let's read Summer, a love poem by Frank Lima. I wanted to be sure this was our island so we could walk between the long stars by the sea. Though your hips are slight and caught in the air like a moth at the end of a river around my arms. I am unable to understand the sun, your dizzy spells, when you form a hand around me on the sand. I offer you my terrible sanity, the eternal voice that keeps me from reaching you. Though we are close to each other every autumn, I feel the desperation of a giant freezing in cement. When I touch the door you're pressed against, the color of your letter that reminds me of flamingos. Isn't that what you mean? The pleasure of hands and lips wetter than the ocean? Or the brilliant pain of breathless teeth in a turbulent dream on a roof while I thought of nothing else except you against the sky as I unfolded you like my very life? A liquid signal of enormous love we invented like a comet that splits the air between us. The earth looks shiny, wrapped in steam, and ermine, tired of us, perspiring at every chance on the floor below. I bring you an ashtray out of love for the ice palace because it is the end of summer, the end of the sun, because you are in season like a blue rug. You are my favorite violin when you sit and peel my eyes with your great surfaces seem intimate when we merely touch the thread of life and kiss. Summer, a love poem. And you might be thinking, peel my eyes with your great surface, Stoneman, that does not sound like love. Well, no one said love was pretty all the time. Sometimes there's disgusting ways to describe a love that's so right. No one said love was always going to be beautiful. Sally Bloom-Miss Dumb said it herself. If this were what we had been taught to draw, how differently we might have learned to love. And with that in mind, let's go and read the next poem, The Murder of Beauty, The Beauty of Murder, by Tori Dent. Just a fair warning, the end of this poem gets a little whew. So, if you cut off my hands, I'll offer you my stumps. If you knock out my teeth, I'll still go down on you conscientiously, vine along a trellis and suck you with my gums. If you smash my toes employing an ice crusher, one by one I'll heal myself with such truancy that someday I'll run on my knees. If you cut off my hands, I'll offer you my stumps, and orchestrate a standing ovation with the memory of my hands, representing each that are dying, each that are dead, each forgotten that we refuse to remember like the lost hands of stumps. So much misery in plain sight like tears streaming down a face, so much misery hidden like the eventuality of the Antichrist, and so much incognito like the accompanying instrument of a torch song. Like the fire in the torch itself, like the torched interior of the song. If you cut off my ears, I will listen with my eyes to the spitting death of cavalrymen as they're roasted over an open fire. To the smallest bone snap, dry as sun-seasoned kindling of the young and truant witch when she's pressed by 1,000 stones. To the brave convulsions of the communists strapped in the electric chair, dying by degree, not unlike the common folk plucked from the village arbitrarily one last December night, stripped to the flesh and heaved high into the freezing air upon a whittled stove, tall and sharp, thrust deep into the asshole, they die by degree, ever so slowly and often only, if not by freezing first, which, if merciful, God deems, when the wooden point finally pierces the brain dead already, from the mouth anticipation and ear-splitting prerequisite of pain. If you cut out my tongue, I will write you a letter, love lorn for the taste of your tongue. If you fuck me hard, I can never make love again. I'll plant hyacinth bulbs in an effort to replace my abolished fecundity. I will turn eternally on my side and pull down my pants and listen to your masturbate while fantasizing about my ass. I'll admire the willow out the window when I hear you come and allow as if in tribute to the times I used to participate. A vague expression of pleasure, albeit contrived to wash across my face the way my desire for you, real as a willow, once had done. And just like I said, not all love is beautiful. It can be disgusting in so many ways. And so let's read You Are the Penultimate Love of My Life by Rebecca Hazelton. I want to spend a lot, but not all of my years with you. We'll talk about kids, but make plans to travel. I will remember your eyes as green when they were gray. Our dogs will be named For Now and Mostly. Sex will be good, but next doors will sound better. There will be small things. I will pick up your damp towel from the bed and then I won't. I won't be as hot as I was when I wasn't yours, and your hairline now so untrustworthy. When we pull up alongside a cattle car and hear the frightened lows, I will silently judge you for not immediately renouncing me. You will bring me wine and notice how much I drink. The garden you plant and I plant is tunneled through by voles. The vows we speak aren't vows, but there's something holding me here, for now, like your eyes, which I suppose are brown, after all. And that's the thing with love. We can pick and choose, but we want to be oh so in love. So we make compromises, and sometimes that's not the best. And sometimes it's just best to have a heart-to-heart with your significant other and go over these things. Just like Rita Dove with her poem, Heart to Heart. It's neither red nor sweet. It doesn't melt or turn over, break or harden, so it can't feel pain, yearning, regret. It doesn't have a tip to spin on, it isn't even shapely. Just a thick clutch of muscle, lopsided, mute. Still, I feel it inside its cage sounding a dull tattoo. I want, but I can't open it. There's no key. I can't wear it on my sleeve or tell you from the bottom of it how I feel. Here, it's all yours. Now. But you'll have to take me to. Love isn't a flower which petals you get to pick off and leave. It isn't a cute nursery rhyme, it's... There's a reality to love. And let's read about it in Bleeding Heart by Carmen Jimenez Smith. My heart is bleeding. It bleeds upward and fills my mouth up with salt. It bleeds because of a city in ruins, the chair still warm from sister's body, because it'll all be irreproducible. My heart bleeds because of baby bear not finding mama bear, and it bleeds to the tips of my fingers like I painted my nails crimson. Sometimes my heart bleeds so much I am a raisin. It bleeds until I am a quivering rag clot. Bleeds at the ending with the heroine and her sunken cancer eyes. At the ending with the plaintive flute over smoke-choked killing feuds. I'm bleeding a river of blood right now, and it's wearing a culvert in me for the blood. My heart rises up in me, becomes the cork of me, and I choke on it. I am bleeding for you, and my heart rises up in me, becomes the cork of me, and I choke on it. I am bleeding for you, and for me, and for the tiny babies, and the IED blown leg. It bleeds because I'm made that way. All filled up with blood, my sloppy heart a sponge filled with blood to squeeze onto any circumstance. Because it is mine. It will always bleed. My heart bled today. It bled onto the streets and the steps of City Hall. It bled in the pizza parlor with the useless jukebox. I've got so much blood to give inside and outside of any milieu, even for a bad zoning decision. I'll bleed so much you'll be bleeding. All of us bleeding in and out like it's breathing or kissing. And because it is righteous and terrible and red. And so we gotta ask ourselves, why do we love when it's the madness of the gods? And to answer that question, Helen Fisher might be able to help us out. In her prose from Poetry Magazine, The Madness of the Gods, studying poetry to understand the brain and love. I study the brain and love. My colleagues and I have put 49 people who were madly in love into a brain scammer, fMRI. 17 had just fallen happily in love, 15 had just been rejected in love, 17 were men and women in their 50s who maintained they were still in love with their spouse after an average of 21 years of marriage. All showed activity in a tiny factory near the base of the brain that pumps out dopamine. The neural liquor that gives you the energy, focus, craving, and motivation associated with intense romantic passion. What the ancient Greeks called the madness of the gods. But before I launched these brain scanning projects, I searched academic literature for the constellation of psychological symptoms linked with romantic love. More exciting to me, I also read poetry from around the world. As other anthropologists have studied fossils, arrowheads, or pot shards to understand human thought, I studied poetry to understand the lover's besotted brain. I wasn't disappointed. Everywhere, poets have described the emotional fallout produced by the brain's eruptions as one becomes engulfed with romantic fervor. Take special meaning. As you fall in love, you begin to regard your beloved as special, unique, unlike any other. Julia is the sun, Romeo exclaims. The Indian poet Kabir writes, "The lane of love is narrow. There is room for only one." And in the Jade Goddess, the 12th century Chinese fable, Chang Po says to his beloved, "Since heaven and earth were created, you were made for me, and I will not let you go." Then the lover begins to dote on every tiny aspect of the beloved. Most can list what they do not like about their sweetheart, but they sweep these details aside to concentrate on what they adore. The car the beloved drives is different from every other car in the parking lot. The street this person lives on, the music he listens to, the books she reads, everything related to the beloved grips the lover's attention. As the 9th century Chinese poet Yuan Chen wrote, "I cannot bear to put away the bamboo sleeping mat. That night I brought you home. I watched you roll it out." Love is blind all day, says Chaucer, and as the passion grows, this brain bath of dopamine fills the lover with restless energy, euphoria. When things are going well, mood swings into despair when shunned. This whirlwind, this delirium of eros, Robert Lowell called it, bodily response accompany this mental storm. Ono no Komachi, a 9th century female Japanese poet, wrote, "I lie awake, hot, the growing fires of passion, bursting, blazing in my heart. These bodily insurrections, from butterflies in the stomach to sweaty palms, weak knees, and a pounding heart, are probably the result of norepinephrine, a chemical closely related to dopamine." So begins a physical and mental addiction to another human being, an addiction often portrayed in verse. "Oh, I willingly stake all for you," were Whitman's words, and an anonymous 8th century Japanese poet summed up this craving. "My longing has no time when it ceases, but I think Plato best expressed what is happening in the lover's brain. In the Symposium, he writes that the god of love lives in a state of need. Romantic love is a need, a want, a craving, a homeostatic imbalance, a drive that arises from primitive regions of the mammalian brain, giving us the energy, focus, and motivation to win a mating partner, life's greatest prize. In fact, I think romantic love is one of the 3 different brain systems that evolved from reproduction. The sex drive urges us to seek a range of partners. Romantic love motivates us to focus our mating energy on just one individual at a time. And feelings of attachment enable us to remain with this person at least long enough to raise a single child through infancy together. Each kind of love is associated with different primary brain chemicals and brain pathways. Each evolved to spread our DNA on toward eternity. But of these 3 basic reproductive drives, romantic love is the best described. Perhaps because dopamine is linked with creativity. And as this chemical courses through the brain, it produces the sleeplessness, energy, and imaginative fire that drive the impassioned lover to compose. "Mind is primarily a verb," wrote philosopher John Dewey. "The mind does things," and poets capture these workings of the brain with words, enabling me to touch, feel, and understand some of the complex emotions that the brain produces as we fall in love. You know what I would really love right now? Sleep. A good night's rest. And with that being said, this has been the Poet's Lighthouse. Help yourself inside. For those of you feeling lost, alone, or adrift, you're not alone. I will always be here. This has been Ant Stoneman. Good night.